Spanish, blanco, French, blanc, Russian, bieli, Polish, białe. All of these words from different languages have the letters B and L at the beginning of them, and they all mean the same thing, white. Is this just a coincidence, or is something deeper happening here? Thank you, Planet, for listening to Master English with Tim, the podcast where every Monday I help you bring your English from intermediate to advanced. I do this by showing you the details of English in depth and without ever hurrying. So, let's get back to our question. 4 words for white in 4 different languages. Blanco, blanc, bieli, białe. Is this a coincidence? No, it is not. All of these words share the Indo-European root BL. Now, before I tell you about that specific root BL, I need to tell you about the Indo-European language. Indo-European was a language that was spoken around 6,000 years ago and in what is now Ukraine. The Indo-European language developed and changed and gave birth to daughter languages, which have continued over thousands of years to develop until right now in 2025. And speakers of those daughter languages many thousands of years ago moved to different parts of the world, for example, from Ukraine to Europe and India. Slavic languages like Serbian and Bulgarian are Indo-European, and so are Latin ones like French and Italian, and so are Germanic ones like English, and Indic languages like Hindi. So Indo-European languages are spread over a very large area, and of course now they are spoken also in the Americas. Now, the interesting thing about modern Indo-European languages is that we can find roots that come from the original language that was spoken thousands of years ago. So there are traces or pieces of that very ancient prehistoric language that you can hear in words that we use every day today. And one of those roots in these words is BL. The BL root that you heard in words like bieli and blanco originally did not mean specifically white. Instead, this root was about burning, shining, or being bright or colorful. It was in later languages that this meaning shifted and developed to where it generally became connected with the idea of being white. There are 2 things that are ironic about the BL root in English. The first ironic thing is that the word white in English obviously does not contain the BL root. In fact, the words for white in all Germanic languages use a different root. The second ironic thing is that words like black and blue do show the original meaning of the BL root, which was connected with many colors. But in this episode, we will focus almost exclusively on English words that have the meaning of white and contain this BL root. Let's now explore some English words that contain this amazing root. I am sure you will be surprised by some of the words and the connections between them that you never noticed before. So, imagine that it's an ordinary Sunday afternoon and you are going to wash your clothes. Your blue jeans, your green, black, blue, and orange shirts, and so on. Really, every color of the rainbow is there in your clothing. You put your colorful clothes in the washing machine, and then you put some soap in with the clothing. Then, while the clothes are being washed, you clean the rest of the house. 40 minutes later, you come back to the washing machine, and when you open it, you get a very unpleasant surprise. Your clothes are not colorful anymore. They are all white. And then you understand your mistake. The soap that you put in the washing machine contained a specific chemical that makes everything that it touches become white. That chemical is chlorine, which is spelled CHLORIN. You can also find chlorine in swimming pools. The chlorine kills bacteria and makes the water clean. Now, we have another word in English that means the same thing as chlorine. That word is bleach. B-L-E-A-C-H. Bleach is a noun. So, for example, you buy bleach at the store or put bleach on that white shirt that has a big red spot on it. We can also use bleach as a verb. You can bleach your clothing, bleach your socks, and so on. Now, another word that contains the BL root is surprising. It is the word blonde. Okay, it's true that blonde hair isn't exactly white, but it is closer to white than, for example, brown hair or black hair, which is what most people in the world have. By the way, blonde can also be a noun, for example, in the sentence. A lot of people think blondes are not very smart. I guess I can say that because when I was a kid, I had blonde hair. Also, the noun blonde is the only noun in English which has a masculine form and a feminine one. The masculine form is spelled BLOND, and the feminine form that you use when talking about women is spelled the same but adds a letter E on the end, so BLONDE. The pronunciation is the same in both cases. Let's move on to our next word, which is blanch. That's BLANCHE. If a person blanches, their skin quickly becomes whiter than it was before. So this is not something that happens overnight. It's something that happens, boom, quickly. So a person might blanch when they hear really terrible news. Someone also might blanch when they see their ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend in a public place. Now, we have another word with the BL root, which is connected with paper, which of course is typically white. If a piece of paper is blank, that's BLANK, then that means nothing has been written on the paper. If you're taking a math test, it is nice to have a pencil and a lot of blank paper to write your calculations on. Also, in English class, you sometimes have a type of vocabulary exercise where you read a sentence that is missing an important word. Instead of that word, there is just a horizontal line above which you need to write your target word. That space where you can write the word is called a blank. And also, this type of exercise is called a fill in the blank exercise. And finally, if a person can't remember anything, that person might say, "I'm sorry, my mind is blank." Now let's look at a few words that are a bit more rare that illustrate the BL root and its main meaning of white. One of those words is blight. That's BLIGHT, blight. So like the word light, but with a letter B added to the beginning. A blight is a sickness that affects plants. Sometimes you can see a plant, like flowers or grass, that has become sick and is no longer green. Instead, the plant has become white and then later brown and dies. The most famous case of blight is from the 19th century when the potatoes in Ireland were affected by blight, causing around 1 million people to die of hunger and another 1 million people to emigrate to North America. We can also use the word blight to talk about a serious problem in society that seems to have no solution. For example, we can say that corruption is a blight, or violence is a blight, and so on. In fact, this meaning of blight is probably more common than the meaning which talks about plant sicknesses. We now have a couple of words where the BL root has been mixed up a bit. Instead of BL, we have LB. That might be a bit surprising that we have this change, but remember that Indo-European was spoken around 6,000 years ago, so there has been plenty of time since then for this root to become modified. And two of these words that have this modified BL root, or rather LB in this case, these two words are albino and albedo. Now, most people have some coloring in their skin. Their skin produces chemicals which gives them color. A few people, though, have skin that does not produce these chemicals, and as a result, the skin of these people is very, very white. A person whose skin does not produce color is called an albino. A-L-B-I-N-O, albino. Albinos also have hair that is white, and instead of having blue, green, or brown eyes, their eyes are red. Being an albino is not easy. People look at albinos a lot, and the sun can easily burn their skin. Albinos often have problems with their eyes, too. The lack of color makes their eyes more easily affected by and damaged by light. Another word which has this LB version of the root is used in science, and more specifically in the study of our planet's climate. This word is albedo. That's A-L-B-E-D-O. Albedo is a measure of our planet's ability to reflect sunlight back into space. If the Earth's albedo is low, then that means the light that comes from the sun is not reflected back into space. So low albedo, the sunlight is absorbed or taken into the planet, and if the Earth has a low albedo, sunlight stays and warms the ground and the waters. On the other hand, if the Earth has a high albedo, that means that a lot of the sunlight is reflected back into space. The Earth has a high albedo when there are lots of white clouds and lots of white snow. Right now, the Earth's albedo is going lower. The planet is warming, snow is melting, and because the snow is melting, we have less white, and that means that the albedo is going down, which makes the planet warmer, which makes snow melt, which makes the albedo go down more, and so on. If this sounds scary and you think it just leads to more warming, then you have correctly understood what I am talking about. Okay, we have one more word, one where the BL root has a different change. In this word, the B is replaced by a P, and we have a vowel between the P and the L. This word is pale. That's P-A-L-E. If a color is pale, it means the color is not very strong, not very intense. It has a lot of white mixed into it. So, for example, in the summertime, sunlight is very bright and the sun shines on us directly. But in the winter, the sunlight is less intense and less direct. In the winter, the sunlight becomes rather pale. Or if you take black coffee and mix in lots of milk, then the coffee becomes a pale brown. And people look pale after spending months inside their houses and offices during the winter. By the way, the words for pale in some other European languages also contain the BL root. In German, pale is bleich. In Russian, it's бледный. In Spanish, it has the PL form, like in English, it's pálido. Did you know that the letter P sometimes changes into the letter F as it moves from one language to another? For example, the German word for ship is Schiff, and in German, apple is Apfel. And so in some cases, the PL version of this root became FL, like in the word flame, which is obviously connected with the original ancient meaning of this root, which was not specifically about being white, but instead about burning, shining, or being bright. This FL version of the root is also found in the word flamingo. A flamingo is a type of bird that is usually pink or even red and has very long legs and a long, curved neck. A flamingo is usually about as tall, not quite as tall as an adult person, but they're quite tall. Flamingos live in watery places and spend a lot of their time walking in water and trying to catch fish. Well, I hope that you found this episode bright and shiny. I certainly did. Thank you so much for listening, and let's meet again next Monday.